Welcome back to RacingNews.com. I'm Magic, and after a couple of slow weekends post-Breeders' Cup, Thanksgiving weekend kicked things back into gear with 16 graded stakes across North America. Let's talk about them. Starting Thursday at Churchill Downs, it was Deja Vu in the Grade 2 Falls City. Defending champion Envoutante went gate to wire in the slop this time to defend her 2020 title. Bonnie South once again took second. The only real surprise here in the race was the 3-year-old Army wife who's facing older horses for the first time. She really didn't seem to handle the slop at all. She's also had a little bit of a longer campaign this year. She pressed Envoutante for about half the race, then folded like a cheap tent in a rainstorm. Look for her to return in a fast track and probably in a little bit of a time off. A bit of a surprise at Del Mar in the Grade 3 red carpet. A small field of 5 in a turf route means look out for lone speed, and that's surprisingly what Neige Blanche was. Juan Hernandez walked the dog early, and she had just enough left to hold off the heavy 1-5 favorite Luck by a head. Neige Blanche has now won 3 stakes this year, but this was the first time in her career that she won gate to wire, and a lot of that credit goes to Juan Hernandez. He recognized the pace setup, adjusted her running style accordingly. Hernandez is quietly having a very strong meet at Del Mar, frankly the last several months in California. At the current meet, he's second to Flavien Prat in virtually all categories, but with horses that aren't anywhere close to the same prices. Friday's headlining race was the Grade 1 Clark at Churchill Downs, which marked the final career start for Maxfield. He was tied with 3-year-old Midnight Bourbon for the 6-5 favoritism, based largely on Midnight Bourbon's perceived lone speed advantage, but Maxfield's jockey Jose Ortiz wisely kept him close early. He had plenty left to keep Happy Saver at bay in the late stages. He goes out on top, keeping his record at Churchill Downs perfect through 5 starts. Hell of a career. He should be equally as impressive as a stallion for Godolphin. Happy Saver almost spoiled the party after returning from running second in September's Grade 1 Jockey Club Gold Cup. He started his career winning 5 straight, but has lost his last 3. All of those to horses with Max in the name, Max Player being the one who won the other 2 races. Happy Saver was running on his wrong lead a lot in the stretch. Maybe he was a little short returning from his break. He has won at a longer distance before, so I don't think that he was getting tired because of the distance so much as he was just coming back from a break. Watch where trainer Todd Pletcher sends him for his next workouts. I'm thinking he shows up at Gulfstream with an eye on the Pegasus World Cup, which is in 2 months at the end of January. As for Midnight Bourbon, well, he had every chance and wasn't good enough. If Steve Asmussen doesn't give him time off here after this race, I'd expect to see Midnight Bourbon back at Fairgrounds, where he ran really well as a 3-year-old. He should fit in well with that group of older dirt routers, and there is a $500,000 Grade 3 race at the end of the meet for him to look forward to. There was a big upset at the Big A when, despite a slow early pace, Bees and Honey at 13-1 rallied from 4th to win the Grade 3 calmly for 3-year-old fillies going a mile and 1/8 on the dirt. Crazy Beautiful, the 7-5 favorite, bumped pretty hard with another rival at the start. She was well off the pace early. She did come up for 3rd, but she was a half length behind 2nd. This was Bees and Honey's second time trying 2 turns, but being a daughter of Union Rags out of a smart strike mare, you'd think distance would be her best friend. She's won 2 of 3 since adding blinkers, and she has a great chance to make a bunch of money at Aqueduct this winter. I don't think you're going to get 13-1 on her anytime soon. Crazy Beautiful's 91 buyer matches her career best. She doesn't really seem to be developing any further as a 3-year-old. She may need a break. She's been running pretty continuously in graded stakes races since February. Though honestly, and I hope I'm wrong here, but this kind of feels like Swiss Skydiver in her campaign. Kenny McPeak gets the best out of her at age 3. Really strong campaign all over the country, winning lots of races, cashing lots of big checks. But then when she turns 4, Swiss Skydiver really didn't take a step forward. Again, I hope I'm wrong, but that's kind of what I feel is happening with Crazy Beautiful here. Del Mar's feature event Friday was the Grade 2 Hollywood Turf Cup, and boy did this one make me laugh. Trainer Chad Brown wins everything at Del Mar, but he's never won this race, so what does he do? He sends Rock Mother Effing Emperor, who wins about as much as the goddamn Detroit Lions. He's the 4-5 favorite. It's kind of like that one idiot who rested the hopes of a weekend-long parlay on the Lions money line. What did you think was going to happen when you did this? What happened was Ken DeSormo, who since the summer has looked every bit the Hall of Famer that he is, well, he took Say the Word from last to first to win by a neck. Say the Word's Phil D'Amato's stablemate Acclimate nearly went gate to wire, but settled for second in a 4-horse photo that Rock Emperor was on the very losing end of, finishing 5th. This is normally the part where I'd tell you to stop betting Rock Emperor, but if nobody's going to listen, I might as well just save my breath. Saturday at Churchill Downs was the annual Stars of Tomorrow 2 card with 12 dirt sprints and routes devoted exclusively to 2-year-olds. There were 2 Grade 2 stakes going a mile on the 16th, the Goldenrod for fillies and the Kentucky Jockey Club for boys. Those were preps for the Kentucky Oaks and the Derby. In the Goldenrod, the 2 short price favorites went down hard to the 9-1 choice Dream Lith, whose trainer Robertino Diodoro has had over 2.5 times the drug violations against him compared to Bob Baffert, but sure, Bob Baffert's the real problem here. After Dream Lith finished well off the board in her 2 prior stakes attempts, Diodoro added blinkers, which is a 26% winning move for his barn, chalked this one up as yet another victory. The 4-5 favorite Sandstone got knocked around at the start, but she recovered to sit in a good stalking spot. She had every chance to win if she was good enough. Turns out she wasn't. She's a need the lead type or bust, so keep that in mind moving forward. The 5-2 second choice Famed is a sister to Essential Quality. She put on the rail for the draw and then was obviously shuffled back a bit because she wasn't the pace early on. She had 0 kick when it mattered though, so I think this horse is nowhere near to what her brother is. He had slow fractions, you had a slow finish, everything just kind of fell apart. Don't think we saw the Kentucky Oaks winner here. In the Kentucky Jockey Club, Smile Happy was hammered down from 12-1 on the morning line to 9-2, but he was a very visually impressive winner in his second career start. Tip of the cap to Aaron Halterman on the race preview. He did pick Smile Happy to win, though I think he was hoping for a lot more closer to 12-1 than the 9-2. Smile Happy did break his maiden on debut in similar fashion, going this distance at Keeneland, so you figure start number 2 should be able to handle it, and he did. Even though he's by champion sprinter Run Happy, the distance seems to be working for him, so don't factor that really into things moving forward as he turns 3 and goes down the Kentucky Derby trail. The runner-up here in this race, Classic Causeway, he hit the board for the 3rd time as many starts, which is a good thing, especially if you own the horse. The finish here really flatters Rattle and Roll, who won the Grade 1 Breeders' Futurity last month. Classic Causeway was 3rd in that race, comes back and finishes a decent 2nd here. Speaking of seconds, I thought the second best horse in this race was actually White Abario, who was undefeated in 2 starts at Gulfstream Park for Saffie Joseph Jr. This horse wasn't beating Smile Happy anyway, but he was stuck on the rail off the turn, got blocked by a 4-wide wall of horses. By the time the jockey got him all the way out in the clear, he'd only get up late for 3rd. But again, no one was beating Smile Happy. White Abario is a horse you should pay attention to at Gulfstream Park on the Kentucky Derby Trail down there. Howling Time, the 2-1 favorite, well, he set a pretty sensible, unpressured pace, and then he folded like a lawn chair when he was confronted. So I guess you could make this example number 1,569 of why you never, ever, ever play a Dale Romans horse at a short price, especially in a graded stakes race. Tiz the Bomb, the second last out in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf, well, he was scratched, unfortunately, as a 3-1 favorite. He had a sore foot on Saturday. It's a really big bummer. A lot of people wanting to see what he was going to do on dirt. He broke his maiden over the dirt at Ellis Park by pretty much a football field. Kenny McPeak already has Rattle and Roll, who I mentioned is going to be on the Kentucky Derby Trail. I bet he gives Tiz the Bomb another shot early next year, probably down at Florida. Maybe Fairgrounds, I would lean towards Florida. Mutamakina defended her title in the Grade 3 Long Island Aqueduct with a combination that Mike Samich was well ahead of the curve on Dylan Davis riding for Christophe Clement. Those two are now 22% with an ROI well over $3 together in the last 2 years. As far as horses to pay attention to out of this, Candy Flower, she had a lone pace setup. She nearly went gate to wire at 22-1 here. She was even longer odds in her last race that she almost won. Mike Maker claimed her for $40,000 back in September, and then that race last out that I mentioned, the Zagora Stakes, she missed it by 1 length. So if you catch any price on her again, take it, because she's right there. She's knocking on the door. She's going to get one of these wins, especially with the lone pace setup. Maybe an easier field, maybe when she's not facing the horse that's already won this race in the past. Del Mar's 3 graded stakes began with the Grade 2 Seabiscuit, a 1 1/16 mile turf route for older males. Trainer Chad Brown sent a pair in Flop Shot and Sacred Life, with the Ortiz brothers riding both of them, but it was trainer Mike Maker's Field Pass who got the job done for his 2nd win of the year. Jockey Umberto Rispoli took first run, literally, at the leader down the backstretch and had just enough left to hold off the brown horses. Field Pass continues to be strong at 8.5 furlongs against Grade 2, Grade 3 company. I still think he's a play against the Grade 1s. The way that the other horses were finishing against him here, and they were not Grade 1 horses, it tells me you step him up, I don't think I'm going to want to take him. Next at Del Mar was the Grade 3 Jimmy Durante, a 1 mile turf route for 2-year-old fillies. And while he might be under investigation by the FBI, retiring, trainer Peter Miller made sure he could steal all the wins on his way out of Del Mar, including in this race with Tezzaray. She broke her maiden over this course and distance during Breeders' Cup weekend with Irad Ortiz Jr. aboard, and now with Irad back in town, she repeated that same success here. I assume that she's going to stay with Peter Miller's longtime assistant moving forward, but it's anybody's guess if he's as good of a chemist as his old boss, so tentatively play her next out, but don't take a short price on her with the new trainer unless we know that he's going to be juicing just like Peter Miller was. The horse I want to follow the most out of this is the runner-up, Awake at Midnight. Boy, what a heartbreaking defeat. This horse is really interesting. She debuts on Halloween, winning a 6-furlong dirt sprint at San Anita Park. Then Doug O'Neill switches her to turf, which is not a very strong percentage. I believe it's only 9% for his barn. Then stretches her out. Then she has to deal with breaking from the rail. This is only her second career start. You're throwing a lot of things at this 2-year-old here, and yet she got a really nice lead in the stretch, or took a nice lead halfway home in the stretch, really fought hard, and loses by a head bob. Stable this one the hell up. Pretty much every horse in this race was within a couple lengths of each other at the finish, so playing them back next out, it's going to depend on the post and the pace setup as much as the trips they got here. So where they show up next, just be prepared to do a lot of research on this race and watch this replay over and over again. Ending Saturday's 9-race card at Del Mar was the Grade 1 Hollywood Derby, a 1 1/8 mile turf route for 3-year-old boys. I told Aaron Halterman off air before recording the preview for this race that Beyond Brilliant was dangerous because of Kent DeSormo. We talked about him earlier. As I said, he is riding the turf in California better than anyone right now, and that's including Flavien Prat. Just like he did 2 starts back with this horse over this course against optional claimers. Really slow up front early, has enough late to go gate to wire for the win. Watch out for that second place horse though, Santine. This Brendan Walsh trainee is only making his 3rd career start. Wins his debut going a mile on grass at Indiana Grand. Steps up to Keeneland, repeats over Keeneland's turf going a mile that day. Here he had the tough outside post 14 to draw, but he really showed distance not an issue for him. It was very impressive the way he was able to pass Subconscious, and Kath can peak in the stretch late. Both of those horses kind of running on a little bit, didn't have a whole lot of punch. Santine did and gets a really nice second place effort. Speaking of horses that really didn't have that big punch you'd expect, Public Sector's 3-race win streak, all of those in graded stakes, well, that came to an end, and trainer Chad Brown continues to fail to defend his race title. He's won this race now 3 of the past 6 years, but has not ever repeated. So pretty much whoever he brings next year, just blind bet Chad Brown's going to win it. Public Sector in this race, he really didn't have an excuse either. He didn't seem to like the Del Mar turf. When it was time to go, you could see he was being asked and just really didn't have that kick. So scratch this one off. Some horses just really don't handle Del Mar. See what he does at New York and Florida when he moves back. In Northern California, Golden Gate held the Grade 3 Berkeley Handicap, which is a staple on their racing schedule. Lots of invading horses tried stealing this, but the local boy, Freeport Joe, made his stakes debut a winning one going a mile 16th over the synthetic. This horse took over in mid-stretch while, according to track announcer Matt Dinnerman, running the race of his life. This is the horse's 3rd win in 5 route attempts at Golden Gate Fields. Camino del Paraiso, who's one of the big hard knockers up there, loved that horse at Golden Gate. He saw his 4-race win streak at Golden Gate end, finishing second. Could not hold off Freeport Joe, but the local horses go 1-2 there, so congratulations to them. Finally, saving the best for last on Saturday, up at Woodbine, the perfect ending to the career of one of racing's greatest and coolest horses in training, Pink Lloyd, the 7-time Sovereign Award-winning sprinter who's never raced outside Toronto, makes his 37th and final career start in the Grade 2 Kennedy Road Stakes, and boy, the old guy put on one hell of a final show. He literally had to battle his way between rivals while cornering at high speed. Then he took control halfway home, and yeah, I'll be honest, I teared up at about the 16th pole because I knew he was going to get it home. Just the perfect ending to his career. I didn't really get into horse racing until late 2016. Woodbine ended up being one of the first tracks I followed. I fell in love with this horse immediately. He now retires with 29 career wins, 26 of them in stakes races, almost $2 million earned, countless hearts won over. Tip of the cap. Sunday's action at Aqueduct was topped by the Grade 3 Fall Highweight Handicap, a 6-furlong dirt sprint that attracted 8 older males. After tracking the pace setter Chateau from the inside through the early stages, Hopeful Treasure tipped out in the far turn, was able to grind down Chateau late to get the lead. A huge effort in the very final stages from Greenlight Go made it close, but Hopeful Treasure took home his first career stakes score at 18-1. The 2-1 favorite Sir Alfred James, usually a front runner, some reason was kept back a bit, never really asked to go with the front runners. Failed to make an impact, ends up finishing 6th. It's worth noting also, he is now 0 for 5 in races when he cannot use Lasix. Something to keep in mind, if he shows up at another Lasix-free stakes race in the future at a short price, really want to take a look at taking a shot against him. Greenlight Go added blinkers, nearly won at a decent price here. He had 5 straight bullet works coming into the race, nearly won off a 4.5-month layoff. It's Going to be fun to see where he goes next. He's finally back with Jimmy Jerkins, who had him as a 2-year-old when he won a graded stakes race, had him as the start of a 3-year-old season when they were thinking Kentucky Derby Trail didn't pan out, kind of bounced around with a few different barns. Now he's back with Jimmy Jerkins. I think Jimmy's going to know where to put this horse to get the best out of him. Del Mar hosted a pair of graded stakes on the final day of their fall meet, and they both ultimately went to trainer Chad Brown and jockey Jose Ortiz. They began their onslaught with Verbal in the Grade 3 Cecil B. DeMille Stakes, a mile route for 2-year-olds on the turf, and much like he did in his debut last time out, Verbal took back to the rear, launched a really nice rally for the win. The Juddmonte Farms homebred is by Flintshire, whom Brown trained in the latter half of his career for Juddmonte. Sky seems to be the limit for this horse. He overcame a lot. You've got to remember, he shipped across the country for just his second career start. Had to face stakes horses, had to face winners. A lot going on here. Looks to be extremely talented for Chad Brown. I am still loving what I see from Cabo Spirit, from the local horses. He finishes third by a hair. He led late, almost looked like he was going to steal it. This was a $575,000 purchase, who was sent to George Papaperdramo, which is not a big name trainer in California. Doesn't usually get $575,000 purchases. The horse finishes behind Bob Baffert horses 3 different times on dirt. Then Papaperdramo moves him to turf. The horse has been improving a lot with every start. That improvement also coincides with when Victor Espinoza began riding him, so keep an eye on that. Victor seems to handle this horse very, very well. The horse could be a really big threat against other California turf horses next year if he branches out, or if there's a lot of East Coast horses that invade her from Kentucky or Fairgrounds. Okay, so he's probably not going to have a good shot then, but against the California horses, I like his chances. As for the Grade 1 Matriarch, well, that was over about 6 seconds into the race, which is how long it took Regal Glory to grab hold of the lead. She never gave it up en route to her first career Grade 1 score in her 5th attempt. She just missed winning the First Lady last time out by a half length. Princess Grace was actually the 3-2 favorite. She won the Grade 2 Yellow Ribbon Handicap here in the summer. She could only finish third. Again, Regal Glory had everything set up for her pace setup-wise. And credit to jockey Jose Ortiz for recognizing that, for realizing nobody wanted the lead early and pushing Regal Glory to take a hold of it. The rest of the 6-horse field kind of ran in place all the way around, including the defending champion and the winner stablemate Viadera, who just didn't have any pace to run into. Not a whole lot to take away from here other than a nice win for the winner. That's going to do it for this week's recaps of the graded stakes action. For free picks and premium selections at every track around the country, head over to racingdudes.com. You can catch our free previews and live stream shows at youtube.com/racingdudes. Hit like if you like this video, hit subscribe if you really like it. Tell all your friends. We'll see you at the track.